What's going on, guys? Billy here, and look at this little spaceship. This is the new DJI Mini 3 Pro. It features a brand new design, as I mentioned, kind of looks like a spaceship, and it also has a brand new remote controller. Now, with that said, in today's video, we're gonna kind of be going backwards in time because we'll be taking our very first flight with the Mini 3 Pro here, but I've actually already uploaded my full review video on this drone. So I'm flying this a little over a month in advance, and if you wanna learn more about all the little nuances it has to offer, go ahead and click the link up in the top corner. I'll put one down in the description as well to figure out more about this drone in my full review. But today, I figured it'd be cool to just capture my very first flight with the Mini 3 Pro. So let's go ahead, stop wasting time, and get this drone into the air. Ooh. All right, so it's a little bit windy today, which of course is gonna be great to see how the Mini 3 Pro fares. We'll go ahead and start our recording here. So the brand new design lends to a lot of really great improvements in terms of feature set. The first that I really want to highlight is the camera. So you'll notice that if you look at the design of the drone, it has an open spot above the actual camera itself, which means we can actually pitch the gimbal upwards a little bit when flying forwards. So rather than there being this hood over the camera and limiting us in terms of how much we can pitch our camera upwards, we can now look upwards pretty far. So let's see, if we pitch up, I mean, look at that. We can almost look up positive 16, 18, 20. Let's positive, oh my gosh, look at this. We're almost looking entirely upwards, positive 57 degrees, and we're flying full tilt in sport mode. Okay, so that is really impressive. That means that we're not gonna have to deal with any sort of gimbal knocking or the camera shooting downwards while we're flying in sport mode. So that is absolutely great. Now, another great function is the fact that the camera itself can actually rotate vertically. So if we look, say, over at these buildings over here, we can now entirely flip the camera vertical, which is super cool. I think the previous drone that DJI made that was able to do this, the last one, was the Mavic Pro. So this is really awesome. The original Mavic Pro that came out like 6 years ago. So this is really awesome. The way that I did that, by the way, on the right side where it says autofocus 1x, and then above that it has a rotate button, so we can tap on that again, and the entire camera sensor now rotates to be horizontal. So that is great. Now let's spin it around and bring it back here. We are just kind of capturing video with the automatic camera settings, automatic exposure. As I mentioned, it is a little bit windier today, and I noticed the wind is kind of going downriver, so we are definitely going to experience a little bit of a headwind fighting back here. The top speed on this drone is 35 miles an hour, around there. And the flight time is also great. The max flight time is 34 minutes, but they also actually offer an Intelligent Flight Battery Plus that I don't have, but apparently that pushes the weight over 250 grams, but gives you up to 47 minutes of flight time, which is awesome. Now, I notice we're getting a battery error here, but I'm not gonna really worry about it all that much just because we are running a pre-production version of the firmware here, so maybe that could be just some issue that's kind of in this firmware. Now, of course, we also have new sensors on this drone because of this redesign. I would say the two biggest factors that come as a result of the redesign is the brand new camera and the obstacle avoidance sensors, which of course we have them on the bottom, the front, and the back, although they're positioned strangely. It's not positioned like right on the back, it's actually positioned on the front, but pointing backwards. So for example, we'll go ahead and flip it into normal here. Let's go ahead and try to fly directly into the building. My gimbal's way too sensitive also, I haven't changed that yet. Just took it out of the box. So let's go ahead and fly towards the building. Okay, so I pulled it back there because I didn't trust it, and I don't know why the drone didn't stop. All right, let's see. Whoa, all right, so let's see. Maybe I haven't turned on the obstacle avoidance yet. I haven't been digging through the settings yet. Let's see, safety. Okay, my obstacle avoidance function is on brake. Let's just try to toggle it on and then off. So we'll turn it off, and now we have it set to brake. Okay, so now let's see if the drone will automatically avoid obstacles. Let's find something other than the actual building itself. Let's try to like fly it into this thing over here. Okay, so as of right now, the obstacle avoidance doesn't seem to want to work, which is pretty interesting. All right, I also have to change this gimbal here because the gimbal is just way out of control. Gimbal settings, man, that pitch speed, we want that down at like 10. 9 works, there we are. All right, so let's not try out the obstacle avoidance sensors for now. So, you know, shooting vertical video is like such a 2022 thing. I've been wanting vertical video for a while just because I sometimes create reels and I want to shoot drone video for reels. And usually, like if you look at my screen right now, I would actually shoot drone video and then crop down the horizontal image by using the guidelines in the center. So that's kind of like a 16:9 aspect ratio right in the center. So I would try to shoot video and then crop it down. But the great thing about this drone is we can now flip over to shoot vertical video. And if we wanted to say do an orbit around this clock tower here, small clock tower, we now don't have to try and like frame our shot up using the horizontal image, but instead we get a full readout of the sensor, a nice 4K shot here. It's in full resolution. So, you know, the Mini was always something that I would use for fun, and I would use on vacation, I'd use traveling. But if I was ever shooting something for a client or shooting something for Instagram or anything like that, I mean, quite frankly, I was always just going to be using my Mavic 3, for example, or my Air 2S, just because it has a better camera. But now, the fact that this entire sensor is able, or the entire camera itself can rotate, is actually going to be a really great thing to use, specifically for creating content for social media, Instagram, whatever you wanted to post to. So let's go ahead and just for the sake of this video, we'll continue to shoot it horizontally, like always, because, of course, we're posting it here to YouTube. We're not posting it to Instagram. Now, let me just say that the new remote controller here feels great. It's kind of like a combination of the older RCN1 and the newer RC Pro. And I would say that in the terms of the lineup, it does fit directly in the center. And also look, there's no antennas. The antennas are built right in, so that is pretty interesting. Now the speed of the drone is really great and the handling is also great. I would say that my yaw is a little bit too sensitive on the sport mode function here, which I would just tune. I would change that up. But yeah, that's just something that I'm noticing right out of the gate. It seems like everything is like hyper tuned to be as fast as possible right out of the box. So let's go ahead and do a nice reveal of Manyoung here. Again, I feel like every single new drone that DJI comes out with is just like the flight software is made so much better. And it's interesting to like get a new mini drone and it feel like I'm flying a Mavic 3. I mean, you know, except for a couple of different functions, I could be flying a drone right now and I wouldn't be able to tell you which one it is just because it feels so smooth. Nice. Now here's something interesting that I want to try out as well. Of course the top speed is something that's important, especially for me. I like flying fast. I'm usually flying in sport mode all the time, so the top speed is 35 miles an hour. But let's test like the diving and ascend function. That's another thing that I really enjoy doing is like diving down. So let's see, we're flying at a max of 37 miles an hour. That's our top speed. Now let's try to dive downwards. Yeah, look at that. We are diving down at 11 miles an hour. That is really impressive. I almost think that that is like quadruple the speed that we'd be able to descend with the old mini drones. Now let's try to ascend, which again is 11 miles an hour. That is really great. And another thing that's awesome is it doesn't take away from our horizontal speed. So typically, you know, with the drone trying to fly forwards and upwards at max speed at the same time, it would take away from that horizontal speed. So to see that it ascends and descends at 11 miles an hour is really great. It is impressive. Again, the Mini too, like one of my biggest gripes was that when you would try to ascend and descend, it was so slow. I think that it was around 4 or 6 miles an hour. So seeing 11 miles an hour is awesome. Like right here, if I wanted to dive downwards towards the train tracks, I'm not wasting any time. This drone is getting after it. Yeah, this is great. Now this new remote controller here, again, I kind of started talking about it and then started talking about other things, but the remote controller feels really great. In fact, I almost think it feels better in the hands than the RC Pro, just like the design of it. Maybe because it's a little bit smaller, maybe because it's more lightweight, but something that I'm noticing is just like these back grips here are easier to hold onto. I don't know, just a quick observation. Of course, I'll know a little bit more after I continue to fly with this thing. Now our camera is 4K at 30 frames per second, and we also can capture 48 megapixel images, so this is a quad Bayer sensor. I would almost relate this to like the Mavic Air 2 camera in a sense. They've kind of taken that camera, they've trickled it down, and they've put it now into the mini drone. The one thing we don't have is 60 frames per second recording, just something to note. Now let me show you guys something, because there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be very happy about this. I won't give it away until we fly down here and get close to me. Something that people have been asking for ever since the original Mavic Mini are features like spotlight and active track and point of interest. Well, now with this drone, you do have both active track, spotlight, and I think point of interest. Let's see. So we can go ahead and drag a box. Oops, I'm changing the exposure now. Let's go ahead and, yeah, perfect. All right, let's get our exposure out of the way. We can go ahead and draw a box over our subject, being myself. Oh, come on. Let's see. Again, I'm using a pre-production version of the software here, so it could not be ready yet. No, maybe I'd have to stop recording for it to go. All right, things are gonna go dark for a second. I'm gonna stop recording. I'm gonna go ahead and jump over potentially, maybe it's only available in lower frame rate or lower resolutions. No, nothing there. Let's see if it's available in 1080p. Sometimes I know they cap it. Nothing. Okay, so again, we're flying an early version of the firmware here. I'll flip back over to 4K, start recording there. All right, so two things that I've tried and I've miserably failed at. No active track, and of course, no obstacle avoidance. I'm gonna try the obstacle avoidance again. That would have been such an awful start to the video, like, hey guys, watch, the drone isn't gonna crash, boom. Flies right into the building. All right, there's another thing I gotta do is in sport mode. I've gotta turn down the pitch speed. Way too fast. Again, I'm coming from my Mavic 3 that I have set to like 8, 9, 10, something like that. Yeah, that's much better. So I like that smoother pitch speed just so that the gimbal isn't going crazy and everywhere. But I really enjoy how in the Fly app, they give you the opportunity to go through and change your settings, you know, based on the flight mode that you're in, so that if you want, you know, a faster gimbal with sport mode, you can, which is awesome. Yeah, I'll tell you what, I really do enjoy flying with this remote controller. I will say though that I don't think the screen is as bright as on something like the RC Pro. We're flying on a fairly overcast day. In fact, I think it's gonna start raining here shortly. And I almost feel like it's still not hard to see, but it's definitely not as bright. And if we swipe down here, yeah, we are at max brightness here. Something else to note is that with this RC here, with the new DJI RC, it is running a version of Android, although you're not able to access like Mozilla Firefox or other applications like you would on the RC Pro. So just something to note. Now, I can't believe I haven't talked about this yet because it's the one thing that I always mention. This drone is using OcuSync 3.03, so we've got great transmission on it, great range, as well as a high fidelity signal, so you're never going to get any sort of interruptions. I did choose a really crappy day to do my first flight, but I just couldn't wait. I couldn't let this thing continue to sit inside of its bag in my car. Had to get this first flight out of the way here. So, I mean, at this point in time, it's hard to not be impressed by DJI's flight software. It's hard for them to not come out with a drone that doesn't fly really well. And I kind of mentioned this in one of my previous enterprise level videos. It's like, when you get a DJI drone, you know that it's going to fly well, you know that it's gonna have great range, it's gonna have a great top speed. But now when you kind of buy a drone, you look at what fits your workflow best in terms of the technology that it offers. So for example, in this drone, the fact that it offers a vertical camera, like the fact that it can rotate vertically, might be really big to some people. Like that might be the reason they buy this drone over, say, the Air 2S, because they shoot a lot of content for social media. They need something that's small and portable, so that this is the drone for them. So that vertical camera, in my opinion, is really gonna be a big selling point for people that are purchasing a drone for creating content on social media. And you know, social media doesn't need to have the highest level camera used. So I think that this camera is really going to fit perfect. So I seem to be getting those battery errors when I'm really pushing the drone hard against the wind, flying upwind, upriver. Just something interesting to note. So if I were to, say, spin it around here, that battery error should go away. Let's go under the bridge. This flight has been already pretty interesting in itself. I think the only time that I've gone under this bridge in a first flight video is with the FPV drone. Awesome. Yeah, so I mean, the general flight experience from this drone is everything you'd expect from a DJI drone, and it's kind of like a Mini on steroids. I guess you'd call it a Mini Pro, because that's the name of it. The new design is great. It offers a lot of brand new features. The new remote is awesome. This drone will still work with an RC N1, one of the older remote controllers. So actually, just as a quick note, if you have one of those old remote controllers without the built-in screen, you could buy just the drone itself and use one of your old remote controllers, which is great because you don't need to continue to accumulate all of these remote controllers. But quite honestly, if you wanted to, I'd go with this remote controller because this remote is awesome. All right, so that's going to conclude our first flight here. We've got about 44% battery remaining. We've been flying for a good amount of time. I mean, the screen recording at the bottom is about 17 minutes. I'd say we've been flying for probably a little over 15 minutes. We'll go ahead and bring her back here. So definitely stay tuned on the channel because I'll be posting a lot of content surrounding the Mini 3 over the coming days. The Mini 3 Pro. Let's hand catch it. Awesome. Yeah. This thing is like spaceship-like. Awesome. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that first flight. Again, if you want to see some more content on the Mini 3 Pro, feel free to subscribe. My review video was posted yesterday. That's going to be linked down in the description, as well as I already put it up in the top corner. But you can go ahead and check that video out if you would like. And again, stay tuned because we'll be kind of going over all the aspects of this drone and everything that it has to offer over the coming days. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. And as always, I'll talk to you later. Peace.